there, Diana from Adirondack Girl at Heart. I teach vintage and antique lovers how to create successful antique businesses. One of the ways I do that is through these videos where I share my recent vintage finds. And today I'm going to be focusing on sewing notions. I recently picked up this box filled with sewing notions for $5. So I'm going to share with you the contents of that box. There were a lot of buttons, and I do love buttons. I have a couple of articles on my website about vintage and antique buttons, and I'll link to those down below. There were some cards of buttons, so some cards that were in good shape. I kind of have organized the box a little bit, so I pulled out some that are in fairly good condition. That's the same brand. Here's another one that says Ocean Pearl. So these are mother of pearl buttons, as were the previous. Here's another card of mother of pearl. Aren't they sweet? So I have an article on my website about framing cards like this. You put the photo corners on them and they look really sweet framed. So this size would be in a small, probably a 5x7 frame, and would sell for $10 or $12. And then here are some metal buttons. I saved these. I don't think I'll frame these, but they were in good shape. As opposed to this bag, they're all partials. So they're interesting, and I'm gonna go through them. So here's some that are like enameled. Aren't they pretty? I'll be checking out their values. I have scads of buttons that I have not done a lot with. And so I think I'm going to try to put together some lots of buttons. In other words, a whole bunch of different ones, and see how they do. I might try to save that card. So also on my website, I have some vintage cards that I turned into printables. So you can print them out and put your own buttons on them. Print them on some cardstock. So I have genuine antique cards, and then I have a separate page where I just did the graphic myself. And so you can pick which ones you like, print them out, and sell your buttons that way. This is a set of plastic. I thought those were super interesting. Just different, right? 3 metal, these are metal buttons, steel cut metal buttons. There are collectors of those. A little container of, these are white buttons. Most of them are plastic, but several of them are mother of pearl. And one of the ways you can tell is they are cool. So plastic doesn't hold heat or cold very well, but the real genuine shell buttons do. You can put them on your cheek. Oh, that's cold. That means it's something natural, right? So there's a gray mother of pearl, and there are several mother of pearl in here. And then, like I said, just plain plastic ones. When I go to sell them, I'll put like together. I'll put the mother of pearl together. I may do an odds and ends sort of lot just to try it out with different types in it. But generally, I would say selling like buttons together is probably gonna, get you better value. There were several little bottles. See, this is a pharmacy bottle. There's just some black buttons. I may craft with those. A couple of bottles of white buttons, mother of pearl and plastic, and I typically will put a bunch of white buttons like this into a really nice antique apothecary jar and sell it for $15 or $20 or $25 depending on the size. So there were a lot of little containers like that, probably another 10 or 20. I'm just showing you a few of them. These are little metal buttons. And then there's this little container of jet buttons. So jet is a natural material found in England especially, and French made a lot. So you can see how it's carved, and then they have a little brass shank on the back like you see. So these are about 1/4 inch. So there were 7 of those in this little container, and then 5 of the faceted round little. So this set of 11, about 11 or 12 buttons, seems like it would sell for about $15 or $20 on eBay, possibly more on Etsy. So I'm gonna be investigating where they sell the best. I do I do sell some small bags of buttons from my antique booth, ones that aren't particularly valuable and ones I'm not interested in crafting with, for like $1 or $2 for a small bag. And I have sold them on those cards that I was telling you about for $2 to $3 or $4. There was also, I have to find them, oh here, lots of red buttons. I'm not sure why I have 2 bags, but red is a very popular color, and sometimes you get lucky and you find a Bakelite button. Also, they come in other colors also, but I didn't have any that seemed worth checking to me. So here's one, and I'm gonna check it right now. I'm using Simichrome. It's a polish that you can use on metals and plastics and all kinds of things. And what you're gonna do, it's a pink cream. Put a little dab of it on a Q-tip, or I'm using a napkin right now. I'm gonna rub it onto the button, and if the cream turns yellow, then you know it's Bakelite. So here it did turn yellow because you can see some of the pink right there, and then over here you see that it turned yellow. And I have another button that I'm gonna test, this little triangular button. So Bakelite buttons on their own, you can sell them separately, and for, you know, a little bit more than a typical red button, because people are always looking for Bakelite. And I have a little collection of kind of broken bits and pieces of Bakelite. So this also turns yellow on the triangular. You can see that it's yellow. So now I'm gonna show you, I have a button here that I'm fairly certain is not Bakelite. I'm gonna test it. So this is the one I'm testing. I'm gonna rub it on the back. It didn't change color at all. See that right there? It's pink. So that's how we know. So we have 2 Bakelite buttons. This triangular one and then this round one. So also in that box was some tatting thread by J&P Coats. I have an article on my website about vintage thread, so anything by a vintage thread company I like to pick up and add to that article. I thought this was really neat. I loved the graphic on this. This is a rug and embroidery punch needle, and the needle is actually in there. It's all wrapped up. I liked the box. A few miscellaneous notions. There's hooks, some hooks, and some snaps. And here's some mending wool on a card, and needle threaders, and some lacy binding of some sort. That's upside down. I liked that it was on this kind of original card. And then 3 needle booklets. They're all the same. So inside you would have, these are often advertising. So this is, when you think of home repairs, think of Baco Home Repair Service. And there's needles in there. And people do collect these. These are a little bit newer, I would say, like from the 60s or the 70s, and would sell for about $2 or $3. And it does say on the back, litho in USA. So that was made in the USA. And I do have, I'm planning on an article about these little needle books or cases. This little bunch is less interesting to me. This is blanket binding, but they are pretty. And so I'm going to show you how I sometimes sell sewing notions. Sometimes I'll put together a lot and where all the colors kind of go with each other. And just recently, last year, I sold a tin, an old coffee tin, a red beech nut coffee tin filled with some string and thread and a pair of scissors. So right now I'm putting together something similar for this Maxwell House tin. So I just need to play around with it and get the right colors. I picked up a whole bunch of these red-handled scissors recently. They go nicely inside this string, spool of string. There's some twill right there. And then these, I'm not loving how the red doesn't look perfect with the orange, so I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Here's some more mending wool, and then this little piece of crochet, and another string thingy, another mending there. So I need to set it up so that you can see everything. Here, there's also a spool of thread that I want to be included so that you can see it, and then this little bit of crochet. So I got to make it look good. So the beech nut red coffee one sold on Etsy for $32. So I think that's a great way to use the vintage and antique sewing notions that you find, and which many of us find irresistible, rather than trying to sell them on their own. So let's see, I have a couple of more things from the box. There were 2 crocheted collars. I have seen these on Etsy, giving off RGB vibes. This one's a little bit older and it's got a little button on the end there. In this box was a number of rolls or pieces, long lengths of embroidered. They're machine embroidered, but beautiful, beautiful trim. Really unique. And look how much is there. That's a couple of yards there. This makes me think of a guitar or a camera strap, but we're just so cool. About a yard of that, a couple of yards. Absolutely gorgeous. So I'm thinking maybe like $10 a yard, something like that. I mean, just fantastic. I don't know if I'll sell them separately or sell them in lots. Do you want to see all of them? I think you probably do. So unique. Maybe about a yard of that one. I'm going to save the most amazing one for last. There's some fish. This is just simple one. Another sort of mod guitar type. Beautiful, right? Very kind of Christmassy. It makes me think of poinsettia. And then here is the last. These are, I think they're like mythical. Are they mythical? Or is that a knight? I'm not sure. Medieval. Let's call it medieval. Absolutely stunning. Probably 2.5 or 3 yards there. So that's it for the Sewing Notion box. I hope you enjoyed seeing the contents, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe, leave a thumbs up or a comment, and as always, happy hunting.